Hello everyone, this is Ellie of Herbcraft by Ellie Apothecary. It is about 10:10 p.m. August 3rd. Welcome to our ASMR August astrological forecast of 2025 for our Astro highlights, Luna notes, and more. This is a monthly astrological and lunar forecast and verbal ephemeris with a psychic read at the end on an oracle for the energy of the month, or it can be used as a timeless message. I am a psychic medium empath, professional astrologer, and I do weekly tarot and oracle videos in ASMR style most of the time. Sometimes I'll do video content. So the Oracle Psychic reading at the end can be used to navigate the monthly collective energy. And again, it's also a timeless message. So if you find the shorter form version of the Oracle read, which I usually put up in a separate video within a couple or a few days of the Astro highlights going up, you can just skip to that video if you want to only enjoy the divination side of my work. So yeah, go ahead and check out the links I'll post later for just that video. I usually drop that kind of information on whatever the community post is for the video, and that can be found in the community part of the channel. For those of you curious, I'm listening to my instrumental playlist on Spotify today. Those of you that like my music tastes, my Spotify profile is linked in the description box, along with many other useful links. So I'll save all shop updates to the end of this video to spare you now. So yeah, welcome to our spiritual community, everyone. I appreciate all your likes, comments, subscribes, donations, and amazing presents. Going to have a sip of my shop brew. It's a conglomerate of different herbs in my tea today, per usual. Are you drinking any tea today, or coffee, or hot chocolate? What is your favorite chill beverage? Feel free to leave it in the comments. Alright, so now for the Astro highlights and Luna notes. For times and dates, I do everything on Pacific Standard Time, being on the lower end of the Pacific Northwest. However, I tend to average the time zones from the States to about Midwestern time zones. So, for example, an event that starts at 12 p.m. in the West Coast would be listed as starting at 1:30 p.m. in the Midwest, and to apply to the East Coast, it would start at about 3 p.m. So just adjust accordingly and drop me a comment if you want me to consider your country or province for specific time zones. And if I get enough requests, I'll consider branching out again. Otherwise, I focus on my local country, not to exclude, but for brevity. So let's get started by getting a refresher on some pinnacle highlights from July. Go ahead and grab a pen and a notepad if you want to note these dates and transits, everyone. While you're doing that, I'm going to chime my bell to cleanse and clear the energy. So if you have a sound sensitivity, please lower the volume in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here we go. For July, on the 4th, Neptune in Aries went retrograde until December 10th of this year. On 7/7, Uranus, the planet of unexpected change, uniqueness, and humanitarian concerns, transited into Gemini to stay through 2033, so for the next 8 years. It'll momentarily dip back into Taurus one last time in November through April of next year, 2026. due to the retrogrades pushing it back a sign. And I'll discuss this energy in more detail when we touch on September. The 10th, the full moon was in Capricorn. The 12th on the west coast and 13th on the east coast, Saturn in Aries went retrograde, where it will stay there until November 26th. The 17th or 18th, Mercury went retrograde in Leo, where it's going to stay through August 10th. The 22nd, the Sun entered Leo to stay through the 21st of August this year. The 24th, the new moon was in Leo. Then the 30th, Venus went into Cancer to stay until August 24th. Now I'm reading from my notes today because this is a lot of astrology to unpack. If you like my more laid-back style, you'll probably like my long-form tarot quests. I'll talk about that at the end. If you don't know what I'm talking about, stay tuned, okay? Cool. Also, I just want to note that Mercury is toying with me right now because I specifically put it on an instrumental playlist, and this one is not instrumental. So, alrighty then, we're just gonna roll with it. So, looking at my notes that I put down for last year, or not last year, excuse me, last month, on Venus going into Cancer, right? And that happened on the 30th, so just a few days ago. Staying through August 24th. We'll all be learning how to expand in all of our relationships via emotional intelligence, especially since Jupiter, the planet of expansion, went into Cancer in June and for the next year. So there are strong maternal influences being brought to the forefront of the collective. Also on this day, Chiron, the asteroid slash microplanet slash space object, the definition varies upon information source as to its exact classification, FYI. Anyways, it went retrograde in Aries all the way through January 1st of next year. It will stay. So it's a good time to review how our inner wounds have affected our actions in the outer world. Might help you to see what sign you have in Chiron in your chart and which house it is in. And you can indeed book an astrology reading with me to learn more about your personal birth chart, so just see the description box for the links. Pre-recording options are also available if you don't want it live and over the phone. Now with this, I mentioned this in June's Astro Highlights, but with the full moon in Capricorn we were leading up to then and just past not that long ago, there's a lot of emphasis on the polarity between the maternal versus paternal presence, and working with your inner child, how you receive nurturing and love, which is another, it's a huge Cancer emphasis, and with Cancer expanding in these themes for the next year, we're really looking at how we care for ourselves and how we can expand as a collective through nurturing, okay? And we can probably get into this in more detail further along we go, perhaps around the full moon in Cancer near the end of this year. We'll get more into the nitty-gritty after we've had a few more months under our belt to kind of observe what has gone down. Astrology is really great for that. If you want to look back at what's been going on, it can confirm things you've been through if you have an astrologer or you know how to study your own chart. Alright, so for the moment y'all have been waiting for, those of you that are here for this month's astrology dates, I'll also note that I am recording this video under a moon in Sagittarius, which is the energy and the sign of the 9th house. In tarot, the cards that are associated with Sagittarius and Jupiter, the planet that rules Sagittarius, is the Wheel of Fortune, Temperance, and the Knight of Wands. Okay, so if you're interested in going deeper in the tarot, there's some fun little tidbits for you. Alrighty, so here we go, August. On the 1st, the moon was in Scorpio in its first quarter waxing gibbous phase, and the pagan Sabbat, Lamas, also known as Lunasa, was this day and the first of 3 harvest celebrations from the Celtic Wheel of the Year. I went into this holiday in more detail in last month's video for July. If you'd like to review the month prior, you can find it in the Astro playlist, and I'll link it in the description and probably at the end of this video for review, if not possibly our most recent long-form tarot quest. It'll be one or the other. So on the 2nd or 3rd, depending on your location with time zone differences, the moon went into Sagittarius, and I am recording this on the 3rd. Thank you to everyone who had the patience to wait for this content. I typically like to get these videos out within a few days before or after the month we're reading on. So if you're listening in for curiosity or review, it doesn't really matter what day you're tuning in. Okay, moving forward. On the 5th, the moon enters Capricorn, and it is also National Night Out in the States and Canada. So go celebrate with your local communities. August 6th, Mars enters Libra to stay through September 21st. Alright, here's some fun astrological information. This sign is the opposite of Mars' natural sign placement of Aries. It's a good time to look at how you take action in groups, union, partnerships, interpersonal relationships, and how you move with beauty, truth, and grace through the world. Anyone with this natal placement in their charts may find they come up against a lot of opposition when it comes to taking action in their lives as individuals specifically. Mars in Libra can also balance out the placement if you're an evolved person with this sign. Bringing a more feminine touch to this masculine assertive placement can be one way it shows up in one's energy and how they, anyone with this placement, may assert their will. Alright, moving forward. The next day on the 7th, the moon enters Aquarius. Alright, and then the next day, a lot of people are excited about this day because it is 8/8. The Lionsgate portal activates. So I'll recap what I spoke on in the last month's video about this. Alright. This is one of the most exciting days of the year for those of us that follow the laws of the universe via manifestation practices like law of attraction and other ways of being. It's the epic 8/8 Lionsgate portal. A massive abundance opportunity is available with this portal opening in the energy. This is also a time of clearing heavy and hidden karma and reaping what you've sown, good, bad, or neutral. Some say this day is the Galactic New Year, so Happy New Year, my fellow space travelers and Starborn. The number breaks down to a 7. Perhaps some lessons you integrated from the 7/7 portal comes into use here. Or skills you've integrated from that last portal may be applied to boost your manifestations here. Perhaps you'll find more synchronicities and guidance via our past collective read called 888 Angel. I will pin that in the comments with the other 7/7 Angel reading for y'all's convenience. So check them out if you feel called to those long form tarot quests. There's also the shorter form versions in the playlist underneath each reading. Or above it, depending on the flow of the playlist. Alright, so the next day. Also, do let me know if you plan on doing anything special for the portal. If you have any mantras or affirmations you want to share with the community that you think would be helpful for helping people expand their manifestation skills, I would love to read them in the comments. We do talk about these concepts and universal laws in our community, so let's share. You got any tips? You've been down this road before, you've never done it, and you have some ideas that you researched, definitely share. Alright, so the next day on the 9th, the second quarter waning gibbous moon phase begins. And the full moon in Aquarius in US is at about 2:30 a.m. average. Late that evening, the moon will transit into Pisces on the west coast. And the next day on the 10th, the moon goes into Pisces for the east coast. Okay? On the 11th, Mercury goes direct officially. Yay! If you want to be extra cautious though, save any plans, purchases, or contracts till the 17th to the 20th, when the post-shadow phase has lifted and the planet is moving more steadily forward. On the 12th, the moon enters Aries. The 14th, moon enters Taurus. The 15th, the waning crescent third last quarter moon phase begins. The 16th, the moon enters Gemini. The 18th, the moon enters Cancer. And the 20th, the moon enters Leo. As you can see, there's a lot of big events bookending this month, but a whole lot of just regular old moon transits for most of the middle of the month. Okay? So the 22nd, the moon enters Virgo, as does the sun, to stay through September 21st. The sun, that is, not the moon. This makes for a new moon at just a little bit before midnight on the west coast. It is also the beginning of the fourth quarter waxing crescent moon phase. The 23rd for the east coast is when the moon will be officially new at about 2 a.m. I predict huge transformations in the collective via opposition and growth. This new moon is in alignment with the Pluto and Aquarius energies, and it will be in opposition to Venus in Leo in a few days after this day. Remember, the newer full moon energies tend to last 2 weeks to 4 weeks, so either to the next newer full moon or for the entire lunar calendar cycle, which is about 29 and a half days. Some people say 28, but it's closer to 29 and a half accurately. We cycle through all 12 zodiac signs every single month, and they change about every 2 to 3 days, sometimes less than, sometimes more, depending on the energy of the sign. Alright, so speaking of Venus and Leo, the 25th, the moon enters Libra, and Venus transits into Leo to stay through September 18th. This is the time to embrace a fierce and loyal, loving relationship in any aspect of our lives. Romantic, platonic, or familial. It's time to be brave, kitty cats. Perhaps you'd prefer to focus on how you express your bold and beautiful self in the world through your creations, appearance, or aesthetic. Turn up the heat and share your passions with your favorite people. And hey, shout out to all you Leo babies out there. If you're looking for something fun and lighthearted, my most recent singing video was really, really fun. And I think it's got songs for Leo's season as part of the title. Check that out if you want to kick back. I was in a super high vibe that night when I recorded. Anyways, some journal prompts for Venus and Leo. This is kind of a little extra I just added in this time. Go deep and look at what has opposed you externally in transforming your creations into tangible success. Look at your relationship with yourself and ways you may dim your own shine to make the rest of the world at ease with your presence. This is a growth point if you accept the task at hand. Also be wary. We may be tempted to spend a little more extravagantly at this time. If you're watching your coins, budget wisely. For those of you that haven't treated yourself in a while and can afford to do so, it would be a great time to do so and have a little splurge. Perhaps a nice pre-fall trip to somewhere hot or tropical. I know I would just absolutely love going to the beach, but that's me. Anyways. So the 27th, the moon enters Scorpio. Alright, next day on the 29th, Labor Day weekend in the States begins. Be safe to all my desert travelers headed to Black Rock this year. Shout out to my friends. The official Burning Man event kicks off on the 25th, week or two before if you're a volunteer. Please leave no trace, y'all. I personally have never made it out there, but have had burner friends that have gone since the early 2000s. So it's been on my bucket list since about 2006, and perhaps I'll go when I'm 80 years old. We shall see. Wouldn't that just be one heck of a way to celebrate like your older years? Yes. I always follow through on my words. Sometimes it takes me a long time to get there, but I always follow through. Anyways, back to the forecast. On the 30th, the month is concluding as the moon goes into Sagittarius, and the first quarter waxing gibbous moon phase begins. Nothing to report on the 31st. Whew! So, did you get all that? That concludes the Astro highlights and Luna notes for August 2025. Feel free to save this video to watch later and reference it if you didn't want to take notes. It's really great guide to have on hand. Otherwise, you're going to have to sit through reading articles upon articles on all the different transits and dates. So I really compacted it here and made it a little easier for you. If there's anything you'd like me to go more into detail on, please drop a comment. I'm open to requests for future content, to expand into other astrological discussions. If you'd like, note your curiosities on this or other astro content. And of course, if you yourself are an astrologer or an astrology buff, I would love for you to say hello. Alright, so drop me a heart emoji in the comments if you're still following. Now, a glimpse into September, and after this we will do the psychic oracle read. So, September. On the 1st, the moon enters Capricorn to start the month, and it is also the U.S. national holiday, Labor Day, officially. For all you average folks that keep the world turning through your daily acts of service and mundane jobs, shout out to you. Please enjoy the hell out of this day off. I hope you get it off. I really do, if you celebrate in the States. I did my time in society before I branched out into my calling in the land of woo-woo, and have mad respect for those still in the daily grind. So if you're looking for a few throwback classic films to enjoy watching on this day, I suggest, as an elder millennial, to watch these three: Fight Club, Office Space, or if you're feeling super spunky and rebellious, V for Vendetta is another great film to enjoy as a quote-unquote common man, in celebration of the little freedoms we have already in our lives. Moving forward, also on this day, Saturn retrograde slides back into Pisces for one last day. It goes back into Aries about Valentine's Day next year. It has been retrograde since about July 12th and 13th, depending on your location. And it goes direct around Thanksgiving week in the States. And of course everywhere else, but Thanksgiving week for the States, about November 28th. This is a last review of all the lessons we learned and karma we cleared over the last few years with the Saturn and Pisces transit. If there's anything at all you didn't work on and want to heal, integrate, and clear, now is the time through Aquarius season next year. So late January, early February. of next year. So we've got many, many months to conclude this. You know, as a side note that I didn't put in my notes here, I'll say that a lot of people get frustrated with retrogrades because they feel like they're going backwards, but it's really an optimal time to do the inner work by looking at what the planet represents, the sign that it's in, and then seeing where that applies in your personal chart or just how the energies have impacted you. You can guide yourself through things. There's a reason electional astrology is very popular, and yes, I can offer that as well to my clients. If you have something special in advance you'd like to plan for, I can look at the transits going on and I can give you some ideas of a few dates to pick. It's just one of those little bonuses of my astrological services I can offer to you on top of a natal birth chart reading. Alright? Cool. So, yeah, if you're somebody who wants to evolve, use the retrogrades as a positive experience to dig out, to unroot, to remove, to transform, to just really integrate the old with the new, okay? And you're going to make your life so much better if you just take a few moments a week to really focus on where you've been, where you are, and where you want to go. Because if you know where you've been, you can see where you are now, which makes it much easier to visualize an optimistic future. And timelines, they don't really exist in the way that people think. They aren't linear. So what you do now could also be the future, and the future could also be the past. I'll let you sit with that quantum thought for just a second. Alright, you still there? Do you have some deep thoughts there? I hope so. Alright. So, back to September, right? On the 6th, Uranus in Gemini goes retro through February 3rd of next year. Review how unexpected communication has either benefited or hindered you in your community or social groups. How can you think outside the box and include others in better exchanges going forward? In what unique ways have you used your voice to speak to others on a grander scale? I am a psychic medium, and I just want to say that sometimes I channel, and I can tell that some of you are a little nervous about speaking to others on a grander scale. Perhaps you have a fear of public speaking or just expressing yourself verbally in general. That was a side note because I stuttered over my words when I mentioned that, and I picked up that some of you are still learning how to do that, and you know, that's cool. You know, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and we can always get better at something if we apply ourselves, right? So don't give up, don't be scared. You know, start talking to one trusted friend, or if you don't socialize a lot, you could try just talking to yourself. Like when you're alone, have a moment, and if you're spiritual, you can talk to spirit and work on your communication that way. Anyways, on the next day, on the 7th, is the kickoff to our second eclipse season this year. At about noon in the States will be the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. This, of course, is one of my favorite times of year because it's just before fall starts. We also have later in the month the Mabon Sabbat, which is pretty much the pagan Thanksgiving. That usually happens on the autumnal equinox. I didn't mention it in my notes, but I'm a Pisces sun sign, so the full moon in Pisces is always pretty special to me, and I'm looking forward to it. And I can definitely see, you know, as a side note I'm picking up here, that this full moon in September, which I'll talk more about next month in that Astro video, But I can see the North Node in Pisces energies for the collective really coming into fruition here. We're going to see something big, transformation in the collective as far as the Pisces North Node goes. And I will do my best to pick up that thought in the next reading, okay? We'll talk about that later. So this eclipse obviously won't be visible in the States because it's happening during the day, but it will in other parts of the world. I'll tell you more next month. On the 19th, Venus enters Virgo to stay through October 12th, and that's for September, right? All right, and for more details on the month of September, you'll have to come back when I publish that video, either the last couple days of August or the first few days of September. Drop a smiley face emoji in the comments if you like this video's astro highlights and Luna notes. All right, so who's ready for the super fun part? Let's all take a deep breath in and out. I'm going to get into the oracle here in a minute, community. When you subscribe to the channel, turn on the all notifications bell so you know when I've published new content. I keep a pretty decent flow of blogs, videos, shares, photos, and community updates on our community page of this channel, Herbcraft by Ellie Apothecary. Please consider joining us. It's free at the moment. I thank you and all others for contributing one way or another. I also appreciate the silent and energetic supporters in the background and curious passerbyers. You all have an impact. I also thank you for your donations. Links in the description box for that as well. They're never expected, but always appreciated. Your generosity helps me pour more love into the channel and our spiritual community we are building here, so thank you. Also, I'm so grateful to see more folks subscribing. Y'all rock. Get in the flow. Now, all right, for the monthly oracle card, I am reading from Kim Cran's Archetypes deck, and if I remember after the psychic read-in, I will read a little bit from the book on whatever card we pull, okay? Let's go ahead and chime my bell one more time to cleanse and clear the energy one more time. If you have sound sensitivities, please turn down in 3, 2, 1. All right. See what energy for the collective that Spirit wants us to look into. I know some of these cards because I've read quite a few now, but I haven't studied the whole deck yet, and I haven't read the entire book. So when I read into a card, it's purely me tapping in as a psychic medium, whatever Spirit wants us to know. And there's going to be objective message for the collective, and then you'll always find subjective messages within that for yourself, right? So take what resonates and leave the rest behind. Yet again, if you like my readings, feel free to check out the Divine With Me playlist. So Spirit, whoa, that card came out. The Ocean. XXXV, so what is that, 35? I'm going to use as descriptive audio as possible to give an idea of the visual experience for those that have vision impairments. $35 could be a synchronistic number. 10, 10, 10. Closing of chapters. 5, change. 35 adds up to an 8, which we were just talking about, the 8-8 portal. We're also talking about possibly going to the ocean or somewhere hot in September. So if you're interested in accumulating more abundance or being a little more extravagant with that energy, like we just spoke on in the Astro Highlights video, for those of you catching this shorter form oracle read, I will link the full reading for that at the end of this video. Thank you. This is Ellie, by the way, of Herbcraft by Ellie Apothecary. So the ocean. We're talking about Cancer expanding in the next year with Jupiter in Cancer since June. This is also a timeless message, so apply it how it fits for you. Perhaps you want to look at some Cancer energies in your chart. We all have everything in our chart, it's just in different placements. And whatever your top 5 personal planets are your highest influence on your personality. And everything outside of that is more generational energies that you were born into in different aspects of your life. You can look into past lives as well. Wow, and then I just pulled the Mountain. I wasn't going to pull a second card, but that, Spirit's got me shuffling here. I'm just going to go with it. We've had the Mountain, I want to say a few readings back. The ocean and the Mountain. Interesting. Water and earth energies. And the Mountain is XXX123, so 33. Or 6 could be a synchronistic number. This also makes me think of one of my tarot quests from a few months back. I think it was April, maybe March, which was the Mountain and the Queen. Perhaps check that out in the playlist if it calls to you. This seems like a choice between flowing or staying put. Going deep or traveling new heights. So do you want to go south or do you want to go north? Spirit's asking. Do you want to go deep and below? Or do you want to strive for more? Way up in the sky, lost in your ideals and thoughts. So the ocean card here, let me describe. These oracle cards have a white banner around them. They are circular cards. Archetypes Deck by Kim Kranz. 35. Trinity, change, integration, change, divine protection, transformation. So in the middle horizon line, there's the ocean below and then the sky above. And most of these cards look like they have been watercolor painted, which I really love. Her book descriptions are phenomenal as well. So the horizon line down, the ocean, it's like kind of messy, black, sketchy pen drawing. It's horizontal lines to make it look like not quite a still ocean, but ripples. And in the center, I think that's a black pearl. And I'm not sure if that's a reflection on the pearl. Strangely enough, and not to gross anyone out, but it kind of looks like cigarette butts, which is strange. That makes me think of pollution and toxins. Perhaps you have been extracting toxic patterns, behaviors, or some of you need to go dive deep and look at the darkness, look at the shadow, look at the muck, look at the internal festering It's dropping into the ocean. It's not quite here. So it's like some of you are still thinking about this, but you haven't. You haven't taken the quest yet. Besides the black coloration of the water, there is colors of orange and red, faintly yellow, so emphasis on the root and sacral chakra. A little bit of solar with the yellow. So perhaps some of you, what you're extracting, what you are pulling out of you, are potentially deep hidden fears or wounds. We were talking about Chiron in the Astro reading, which is the wounded healer archetype, okay? Perhaps you're about to plunge to make new discoveries, especially in regards to security, to creative energy, and your confidence, your will, your drive. Mostly, though, I'd say on perhaps ways that you haven't been grounded in the past that has sabotaged your security and your confidence for some. Above the horizon line is the different colors of blue. There's like a darker blue, like a gray blue, and then these wispy, almost tie-dye, more aquamarine, teal, and little bits of white. Makes me think of third eye and throat chakra. So how you see your 5D reality, psychic impressions, tapping into higher consciousness and expressing through some kind of medium. Doesn't have to be your voice, and you don't have to be a medium to access these senses, by the way. Speaking this out, creating a shield from some of you against what you've left behind. For those of you on an ascension, I'm sensing you've left behind what you have extracted, and it's plunging into the deeps and the depths to get cleansed, purified, and regenerated. And I see this like bounce back effect happening, because at the center of this blue is, it looks like a seashell or a shield or a disc of some kind, and I can just see this like almost propelling and it working like a slingshot, where it's going to thrust you further onto your highest timeline. So some of you are doing timeline jumping here if you choose to do the work to go deep. Some of you have already done that, and you're in the process of this. Now looking at the mountain card, I've described this card before, but I'll do it again for those of you that haven't experienced my previous oracle readings. There is a massive mountain in the middle of the picture, and it's done in, it looks like it's snow-covered white with black sketchy lines, like pen lines, and it's a jagged mountain. And above the mountain are chakra colors of the lower and upper heart chakras. Little bit, there's like a faint light green, yellow, so a tiny bit of solar here. Again, there isn't a huge emphasis here on confidence in this, which is interesting. Maybe it's because we have all this Leo energy going on in the Lion's Gate. It's like you already have that within you. You just have to focus on these other things in order to bring it out. That's for some. So yeah, it looks like this beautiful dark sunset sky of greens and a little bit of teal and pink and yellow and very, 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 very faint sacral orange colors. More focus on the higher chakras, more feminine aspects, and envisioning a clear vision of what climbing that mountain means, what you're, if you choose not to go below, if you're choosing to focus on what you're building, how does your vision look? How can you create? Leo rules the 5th house of creativity, okay? So they're also ruled by the King of Wands in the tarot, Queen of Wands associations as well, of course. So they are the master magician and manifester. Definitely, if this rings any bells to you, if you're interested in participating in the 8/8 Lionsgate portal, this is the most epic time to create positive abundance in your life and to expand on your plans. Of course, mind the retrograde. You can still set intentions for it, just perhaps put a note in there about something to work around those energies or to boost you in these times of retrograde energies. If you want more information about that, drop me a comment and I'll consider seeing if I can give you more tips. So in the middle of this mountain at the top is a cutout square, indentation, bold black square, and then there's all the solar. This is why I say the solar is like within you, because it's inside the mountain, all this yellow with the faint orange and red outline. Again, connecting to the root, sacral, solar chakras. And inside this is the figure, black silhouette of a man with their hand on their hip, kind of looking out, gazing at everything below them. It's like they're insulated in this security, which has given them confidence, but there's so much more to see. And there's so much below that is unknown, because below the lower half of this card is all black silhouette of forest trees. There's a lot of unknown down there. Some of you may be afraid to come off your perch or your high horse for some of you. I'm just being playful. Don't take it personally. Come on now. Anyways, the moon is in Sagittarius today, so hello horse people. Anyways, yeah, some of you are just very comfortable where you're at in your mountain, on top of the mountain. And you're very fixed, you're very fixated on what you've grown. But if you want to ascend to new heights, you can't be afraid of what's below, so perhaps you could use a little plunging into the depths. I would suggest when the moon is in Scorpio, Pisces specifically, or Cancer, to do soul journeys, okay? Especially Scorpio, because they're also the sign of the shaman, which doesn't really get talked about very often. So looking at these cards, I believe that Spirit is telling you to ask yourself where your focus is. Are you in the past or are you in the future? And wherein lies the present? Where are you between that space? Can you see your way forward? Or are you stuck, still behind? And are you so focused on building that you refuse to see ways that the past could be overshadowing you? You could also look at it as somebody who's very successful and has already gone through the depths, and they're looking at everything that is around them, their empire that they have created, and this is brought to the surface by accessing the 5D, by using your vision, your higher knowing. Because as we know, as above, so below. You have to believe it to see it, not the other way around, if you truly want to manifest your life. Alright, I'll take a picture of these cards and use it as the pinned image. I think that concludes the oracle portion. Please drop a magic wand in the comments if you love this psychic reading, or just put 88 in the comments for the Lionsgate. Thank you so much for stopping by. Also appreciating likes, comments, shares, subscribes. And I hope you have a great month of August. For everyone else who stuck around for the shop updates, we'll cruise through this real quick and then we are going to conclude this video. So, our last tarot quest for the week, both long form and the 4 shorter form videos were published over the last week. I linked the full video in the description box of this video. It is called You're Walking into the Best Days of Your Life Collective. Let go and receive. All 4 aces on the table. Yes, we had all 4 aces. We also had all 4 kings and 3 queens. It was fabulous. It was a really beautiful reading. However, due to copyright issues, the reading is not available in all countries, but the first shorter form video should be available because it doesn't have the copyright issue. I'd suggest watching those if you can't listen to the long form. Thank you for your patience. You can also browse our collective readings playlist, Divine with Me. I always have that linked in the description box as well, along with the Astro, Insights, and Channeled Messages separate playlists. I must announce that I have some changes coming to the readings for the collective, and I just want to note that my phone says 11:01 on the timer, on the clock. That could be a synchronistic number for you, 11:01. And we started this reading at 10:10, which is interesting. Lots of 10s and 1s and 11s, so completions, new beginnings, new cycles, endings of cycles, and emphasis on community. And also I believe 11 is Metatron's number, so Archangel Metatron. Also, if you're looking to expand in the 5D, Archangel Metatron is great to work with for that. Just a side note. So for a couple announcements here, I do have some changes coming to the readings for the collective. Firstly, I'll be publishing the long form versions closer to midweek going forward. So the shorter form versions will come out on or right after every weekend. You'll always know what's going on if you follow the community blog on the channel page, as announced last month. Sometime after the retrograde with Mercury, I'll be offering the extended versions of each quest on other platforms for purchase, which means I'll be shortening these separate ASMR tarot quests to 45 minutes or less and offering a link to purchase the rest of the reading or sign up as a member to receive unlimited access to all exclusive content, most likely on Patreon. When YouTube gives me the option for memberships, I'll be offering the content straight from the channel. The more we grow, the more I can show with y'all. You're never obligated to go to an extended, but I appreciate all of you that will choose to do so. You do help and build and support our sacred community here. So stay tuned for more information on those changes. And for most of August, possibly part of September, it will remain as it has. And I thank you for your continued enjoyment and support here. What has been your favorite tarot quest thus far? I'd love to know in the comments. So in a more fun advertisement, I guess, I'm also debating offering a sale on my readings to kick off the fall season later in September. I will keep you posted on that. Also, what is your favorite part of this video? Was it the astrological highlights via the verbal ephemeris, the psychic oracle read, or the Luna notes that give you phases and moon signs to track? Would love to hear your feedback, community. If you're interested in tuning into a channeled message with an Astro poem for Cancer and Leo seasons, visit my channeled messages playlist, also linked in the description box, and click on the video Between the Chaos and the Calm, channeled prose and poetry. Now, for patrons and clients, some information. For booking either an astrology, tarot, or oracle psychic read, including hybrid sessions with all of the above, please visit my booking site to schedule. You'll find my live over the phone reading prices from the services tab. If you'd like to book a private audio recording instead, you'll need to email me for that separate price list and request. Pre-recorded is typically less expensive than the limited live slots I offer on Tuesdays and Fridays. My standard reading appointments per week go as follows in Pacific Standard Time: Tuesday 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. or Fridays at 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. or for the special and only nighttime slot I offer, book for the 7 to 8 p.m. Friday night read over the phone. Sometimes I can also accommodate a live phone time slot that is not listed as available. If you request it 5 days ahead of time via email, I might be able to work it out with you through future calendar dates that are available. You may also text my business number to request my scheduling assistance. Phone number is found on the booking site. Links to that are also in the description box to book with me. Official business hours for summer are Tuesday and Friday, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, with of course the one evening slot for Friday night, 7 to 8 p.m. So you know, my business number is on Do Not Disturb the rest of the time. So if you don't leave me a voicemail or a text, I will not respond. I do appreciate the effort and your follow through. So, everyone, thank you. That concludes this video. Please give it a like or drop a star in the comments or your thoughts to show your support. Please subscribe if you dig my vibe and want to be a part of our unique community, one where we support and guide each other to activate, ascend, and expand. Have a great month. Thank you, everyone. Many blessings. This is Ellie, signing off.